Hello Wanderlusters and welcome to your channel Wanderlust with Yogini. I'm Aarti Kukreja. Do you want to know what happens when 6 women decide to spend New Year's together? We end up in Vietnam. It was truly divine intervention when my girlfriends decided that we should go to Vietnam. Because unfortunately, 3 months after that, the pandemic hit us and we all had to remain home for several months. Being mostly a solo traveler, I was so grateful to my girlfriends that they planned the whole trip out. And thanks to their extensive research, we went to some of the best restaurants, bars, clubs, experienced the most scenic views, and we even brought in the New Year's in style. Firstly, I think Vietnam is extremely underrated because it's beautiful, it has a rich culture, it is diverse and affordable shopping, and it has some of the most beautiful views that many don't even know about. But the most amazing thing about Vietnam are its people. The Vietnamese, like Indian people, are extremely warm, welcoming, and helpful. And I was extremely glad to have met one of my old friends there who gave us great insight on the hidden gems of Vietnam. So although we didn't have time to do everything in Vietnam, I thought we had very diverse experiences there. We did everything from jumping into the sea in the middle of nowhere, exploring old age limestone caves, looking up bar streets that had hundreds of bars stacked one against the other, exploring floating night markets that were beautifully lit up, and even sipped the Vietnamese coffee while a chu-chu train passed us inches away from where we sat. Let's explore Vietnam together. The first city we went to was Ho Chi Minh City, where we landed on 31st in the wee hours of the morning. Quintessentially, it felt like the city was welcoming us because all the streets were lit up so beautifully with multicolored lights, and all the public places had lanterns of different colors hanging in there. And instead of feeling extremely sleepy, we were eyes wide open and very eager to explore Vietnam. So, in Ho Chi Minh City, we were staying at the Diamond Suites, which were basically luxury apartments that had their own amenities of gyms, swimming pools, supermarkets, and even certain smaller stores that you could buy local items from. After a few hours of sleep, we decided to have our first well-deserved meal in Ho Chi Minh, and that was at Lao Hong Kong. Now, the girls had heard about this place and they knew that it had authentic local Vietnamese food and amazing vegetarian options, and so we decided to head there to have a delectable first meal. The menu at Lao Hong Kong was extensive, so we decided to have a custom-made noodle bowl meal. Here, we could choose the sauces, the dips, the spices, the accompaniments, the vegetables, and even what kind of noodles we actually wanted. This delectable meal was extremely filling. It had the right amount of Asian spices. It had homemade tofu, fresh vegetables, and it smelled and tasted extremely spicy. So it's not for everybody's palate, but I highly recommend it if you let them know that you don't have a spicy tongue. I accompanied my extremely rich, heavy, and spicy meal with the dua toa, which is what coconut water is known as in Vietnam. Now, with stomachs full and eyes still hungry, we decided to wander off to the Saigon streets, which is also known as the Umbrella Streets, which is one of the most beautiful local markets where you can shop till your heart's content. Absolutely gorgeous bags, shoes, accessories, but remember to bargain a lot. And we came across this beautiful cafe called the Greyhound Cafe. The interiors are rich, colorful, and beautiful, and their drinks even more so. It took us a lot of time to order here because everybody around us were having such multicolored, beautiful drinks that we kept wondering if we should order what they are having. Anyway, after discussions with the waiter, we decided to have a few drinks, and I highly recommend the chocolate lover parfait and the pink journey here when you go to the Greyhound Cafe. So, like I said, the girls were really planning the New Year's out extremely well, and they had done a lot of research to find out that for the New Year's, we should go to the Chill Sky Bar at level 26. I had absolutely no idea about this place, but believe me, when we got there in the evening to get our tickets, there were hundreds of people lined up in the queue to buy it as well. So we weren't even worried whether we were going to get our tickets. Eventually, we got our tickets, and believe me, that was the best decision we made on our trip because we were in for the most amazing nightlife experience of Vietnam we had ever experienced. So, with tickets in our hand and dresses that could kill, we went to the Chill Sky Bar to bring in the new year. We were welcomed there with a complimentary glass of champagne, and we were told that someone called Trong Yu is going to be performing for the night. We obviously didn't know who he was, and we were later to find out that he was the Vietnamese Idol 6 winner and also the local Michael Jackson of Vietnam. His killer dance moves and absolutely melodious voice had us dancing to his every single beat, and we were extremely impressed by his overall performance. After he got done with his performance and we welcomed the new year with him, we continued to dance and enjoy the DJ's music all night long. But a couple of hours later, we noticed that Trong Yu and his crew were talking to one of our girlfriends. They in fact approached us and asked us to party with them, and as it turned out, that was one of the most legendary nights of our life. I was enjoying myself so much, I thought that the night would never end. But several drinks later, we decided to take it easy and go to a local burger joint and digest away all those toxins. On our way back to the hotel, I had a thought. I was already feeling so consumed by the city that I couldn't wait to explore the rest of Vietnam in the coming days. So, the first 24 hours of Ho Chi Minh City were exhausting and exhilarating all at the same time. So, we decided to take the second and third day rather easy. We walked around the local streets and found a place where we could get something healthy for a change. We grabbed a salad and I had a Jasmine IPA beer, which is by the Pasture Brewing Company, and it was absolutely delicious. After that, I decided to head out on my own and explore the city by myself. To my surprise, I very quickly went to the Ho Chi Minh City book street where I found a range of cafes with lots of books and libraries. I went in quickly, grabbed a few books since I love reading, and I moved on to going to the Vincom shopping center, which houses the most popular global brands in the world, and picked up a couple of purses. After that, I joined the girls and we started walking around the city center where we came across the President Ho Chi Minh statue. This was a marvelous fountain which was LED light colored, and it was in the color and shape of a lotus. It was absolutely beautiful, and the entire city center was located around it. We were told when in Ho Chi Minh City, go to the Chua and Lak Street, and it was totally worth it. This amazingly lit up lantern-filled of market had everything from homeware, clothes, bars, and very small but local restaurants serving delectable food. After all that shopping and walking around, we were extremely tired. But there was one place we still had to go to, the Bui Vien, also known as the Walking Street. This place has hundreds of lanes and by lanes, and they're all stacked with bars one after the other. There's karaoke, there's shisha, there's drinks, there's cocktails, and there's a really wild time that you can have on these streets. We decided to go to the Easy Tiger, which seemed to have a little bit of a European crowd, karaoke, not so loud, serving amazing shisha and beautiful cocktails that we really enjoyed. And I really recommend that you go there too. a friend and I decided to just take it easy. So we only went to the Ho Chi Minh City house, which is basically the parliament of the city. It was absolutely a stunning sight to see. It had a grand fountain before its entrance, and when you went inside, it had beautiful decor of conference rooms and dinner table rooms, and it also had large, beautiful paintings and windows, all to be admired for any kind of a art lover. I also highly recommend the Nang Hang Nyon to go have some Vietnamese food where I've had the vegetarian pad thai. It was ridiculously amazing. And we also went to a dessert place called the Dreamers where we had delectable desserts. After lunch and dessert, it's time for some Vietnamese coffee. And where did we go get it? At the Great Banh Mi Cafe. Their locally roasted coffee beans have something else in them because they were so relishable that even me, who doesn't drink coffee as much, had a couple of cups. Next, we went to the Nok Hoang Pagoda. This is this beautiful pink colored temple that we randomly happened to come across and go inside to pay a visit. I remember walking in not knowing what to expect because I'm not a very religious person. But as soon as I entered, the vibe of this place was so serene, so calming that it was almost like I choked up into tears, went down on my knees, and hailed in gratitude that I felt so blessed to be there, to be on this trip with some of my closest friends, and also that I have such a great life in general. They also have these basketball seated arrangements at the outer circle of the temple where you could sit down and kind of just reflect, meditate, ponder, which I really liked. And my friend and I really needed to just sit down there for a few moments and take it all in because the energy of that place kind of really felt divine. Where should you spend your sunset in Ho Chi Minh City, you ask? Well, obviously the level 23 wine bar at the Sheraton Saigon Hotel, which is on the 23rd floor. It's a complete glass bar, and you can see the entire city 360 degrees light up as the sun goes down and everybody turns on their light. Like most people, we just went there for the views because the alcohol was very expensive. But please do try some of their wines because they are exclusive and exotic. So, a local friend of mine decided to meet us for dinner and took us to the Heart of Darkness Craft Brewery. Now, this place has local beers that are so varied in flavors. Instead of having an actual beer, we decided to taste all the 26 types of beers that were there, and we really enjoyed it a lot. And I highly recommend you go there. Now, after all the excitement, all the walking around, partying, drinking, exploring the wild city called Ho Chi Minh, we were ready to go to a beachy place. And where did we go? Da Nang. Da Nang, a city for suntanners, sea swimmers, and beach bums like us. And when we went to Da Nang, that's all that we did. Found a local beach shack and just plunked ourselves there for the entire day, enjoying the views, the vibe, and the kind of a slow pace of this place. We also mixed a lot of cocktails with coconut water, as highly recommended by everybody, and man, were they strong. After heavy local food, we decided to go back to our room and take a nap so we could be ready for the highlight of Da Nang, the Hanoi floating night market. This cultural heritage night market at the Thu Bon River is not just something I was delighted by. It is an actual UNESCO cultural heritage site. Now, this place is extremely difficult to describe because it's literally floating on water. There are several lanes and by-lanes with extremely small shops and restaurants and bars all by the river and beautifully lit up in every single street has its own unique charm. I have to say, while I was exploring this night market, I was almost lost because there were so many lanes and by lanes so beautifully decorated with lantern lights and LED lights. Every single lane had its own unique charm to it. I almost felt like I was in Europe because it had this quaint, niche cafe bar kind of a vibe, and also the unique things that they were selling. So the things to decorate for your home, lamps, lanterns, shoes, accessories, purses, things that you've probably never seen before, and they were so rare. And all of this was actually happening while we were floating on a water body. So one of the coolest things was that they had these local old school wooden boats that were lit up with LED lights where you could sit on it and you could float across the market and go from one side to the other. So we decided to sit right at the edge of this water body and go to a local restaurant. We tried some fruit smoothies, some herbal teas, and some sticky rice wine along with Vietnamese food. It was absolutely delectable. Being the holiday season, it was packed with travelers. There were people everywhere. There was people dancing on the streets outside bars with salsa music. There were people doing Vietnamese local dances. There was all sorts of things going on. It was almost like we were in a carnival. Our last stop for the night was the Da Nang Beach Bar, and had we heard a lot about it or what? So this is supposed to be a very popular place to party and also serving great food and cocktail, and it's right by the beach. So we went back from the night market to this place, and we were welcomed by local Vietnamese people who decided to buy us drinks and spend the night teaching us how to do local Vietnamese dancing. The other most popular thing at Da Nang is the Da Nang Bridge, where every night is the dragon show. Now basically you're standing across a water body where there is a beautiful bridge lit up in multicolored lights constantly changing, and at the edge of both the bridges are dragons that are spewing water at the change of a color and the change of a beat. It was so magnificent. We just had our eyes stuck to this show, and I clearly remember that taking pictures or videos would do no justice to it at all. So not just the bridge, but all the streets around it were lit up with multicolored hearts and lights, and it was almost like they're pointing you to the direction of where you need to go to see the show, and that was also a beautiful sight to see. After the dragon show, where our cornea was hit with multicolored lights consistently for over an hour, we decided to take a little bit of break from the lights, and we went to the Socha night market. But little did we know that us Asians love lights so much that when you enter this market, there's a heart-shaped LED light point called the photo frame point or the picture point, where you could take beautiful pictures before you enter there. The Socha night market again is like any local night market. There are carts and carts of local vendors selling you amazing local food, drinks, beverages, and we really enjoyed eating some local food there for some time before we called it a night since we were extremely tired. Next up was Halong Bay. I can say very confidently that nothing prepared me for what I was about to experience when I went to Halong Bay, because its breathtaking scenic views, the multicolored waters, the crystal blue skies, and the vegetative mountains had all of us staring into space. We had opted for the Oasis Bay Classic Cruise for the 2-day 1-night adventure of Halong Bay, and it was totally worth it. small boating cruise from the Tuan Chau Harbour and were welcomed with the drink, cruise briefings, and safety instructions by Henry Theory. As soon as we started cruising, we realized that we were in for the most beautiful experience of these scenic views of Halong Bay. These vegetative mountains affirmed so deep-rootedly into the sea, the multicolors of the ocean and the clear blue sky, the silence, and just the melody of this beautiful light breeze had us all mesmerized for a very long time. Halong Bay has this beautiful symbol of a mountain called the Fighting Cock Islet, which is basically faithful and steady love. Upon passing it, Henry Theory, who was our guide, explained to us that it was a way of welcoming people into Halong with arms wide open. After cruising into the middle of Halong Bay, we anchored at the Frog Pond area where we had the opportunity to get into the sea and do a two-seater kayaking experience. My friend and I decided to go kayak together because we had the experience before, but we weren't as good as we thought we were. There were these two mountains under which there was a tunnel cave that we could go past, and we kept crashing into the rocks before we were pushed by somebody else onto the other side of the cave. But on our way back, we became much better at balancing our act together and being a proper kayaking team who went back to the cruise, very pleased with our experience. Hello everybody! We're going through the caves. I know, we love it. It's so beautiful. Woo! Back on the cruise, we were served some beautiful cocktails, local tropical fruits, and some of their wines, while their chef was demonstrating cooking some local Vietnamese dishes which looked delectable. And they were when we had it eventually as well. After having a few drinks, Henry asked if somebody wanted to take a dip into the sea. None of my girlfriends wanted to do it, but taking a little bit of the daring, I decided to chuck some vodka and jump into the middle of the ocean, which was -2 degrees, and swam to my heart's content. At first, I could feel my body shivering from within, but once I got used to the water, I could feel like the sea was hugging me warmly, and I stayed in the water, staring at the sky and really enjoying the immersive experience at Halong Bay. As soon as I came out of the water, I was obviously shivering, so I went in for a hot shower and was welcomed by local Vietnamese dinner. After that, the girls and I decided to just stay at the deck, listen to music, dance the night away, and stargaze, which was one of the most beautiful bonding experiences that we had. The next morning, we were woken up quite early for a Tai Chi class by a local MMA master. Once we were at the deck and we were looking to do some mobility stretches before the class, we were completely awake to the sunrise and the sun covering the entire Halong Bay and its beauty to perfection. After the Tai Chi class and some breakfast, we headed to the Sung Sot Cave, which is at the Po Hon Island. We had to climb 600 steps, which is 25 meters above sea level, to enter these limestone caves, but believe me, it was all worth it.
Alright, so we keep going, go to the same as the chapter. Here we go!
The Sung Sot Cave is actually nature's blessing because after years of tectonic plate movements and extreme weather changes, these limestones are now providing back to the Halong Bay, making it mineral rich. The Sung Sot Cave is a world wonder, and people from all over the world come to witness the several crowded stalactites and stalagmites, which contribute largely to Halong Bay's ecosystem. The cave is divided into two halves: the waiting room, which is vast with multicolored lights, and the serene castle, which has animal-shaped rock formations, which are very interesting to see.
This is the first chamber. It's adorable.
You okay?
The highlight of the Sung Sot Caves is a horse-shaped rock formation with a long sword. Now, legend has it that this was to protect the aggressors from invasion into the Halong Bay. I highly recommend you spend a couple of hours exploring the Sung Sot Caves because they're extremely vast and they also have some very interesting 3D rock formations in the imitations of life. Overall, Halong Bay was my best experience of Vietnam and I highly recommend it to everybody. After the divine view of Halong Bay, the caves and the cruise, we were ready to come back to the city and we headed to Hanoi. Hanoi is known for the chu-chu street. Now, quintessentially, in the 1900s, when they were building the city, they built the train tracks very far away from the city center. But as the city grew, the houses in the residential areas, commercial properties started becoming closer and closer to the train track, to the point that they were so close that it became kind of a safety hazard. So after that, they decided to stop the train going through the train tracks so close to the residential areas and commercial properties. So now they've just kept it as a tourist spot where they have kind of like a toy train going past you on the street that have stacks of bars lined up next to it and restaurants, and you feel like you're inches away from the train when it passes by. Another famous thing to do there from the local people that we found out is when the train comes by, you put your hand up and say choo-choo. So in all of the excitement, we were all in sync going choo-choo, choo-choo, and hailing out to the drivers of the train and commending them because they were actually the real drivers that were driving the trains before, and the government have retained them on to drive this toy train so that they could keep their jobs. Hanoi is known for its beer street, and we decided to check out what the fuss was all about. So when we got there, we discovered that travelers, beer lovers, backpackers, people from all walks of life were flooding the beer street on a Monday night, I think, and they were enjoying various types of local and imported beers. We decided to sit at the Dragonfly Bar, which we had heard a lot about, and have a few rounds of pints ourselves. While merrily holding hands and singing and walking around, we just accidentally discovered Cow the Hook, which is a red colored wooden bridge on top of a lake called the Huan Kiem Lake. Now, the beauty of this place is it seems like it's in the middle of a foresty park. It's so raw with its beauty of nature in it, and it's also actually in the middle of the city center. So Cow the Hook is this beautiful bridge that's definitely worth taking pictures of. So please take a moment to do that. Diagonally opposite that was the Nong Song Temple, which is the temple of the Jade Mountain. It was unfortunately closed because it was at night, but it looked absolutely gleaming even in all of its darkness. So across the lake was the city center where we decided to grab our last meal in a local restaurant and keep it really low-key because the next morning we were going to fly out. But we didn't do that before visiting the Mad Potato, which is basically very well known for its double fried potato chips with several toppings and sauces. It was kind of like our first and last meal of the day. So that brings us to a trip of Vietnam. Stay tuned, Wanderlusters, to see where Wanderlust with Yogini is gonna go next.